running. I always take what I want and I always give it 100. Don't need a bank, no I'm funded. Play the game like it's nothing. I'm always thankful for something. Don't take for granted, stay humble. Now wake up! It's time to look at the enemy. Look in the mirror if he is no friend to me. It's not working out, maybe it's the chemistry. It's time to break up so I can make a better me.
Hello, Miami. Thank you so much for watching 305 Sports Now. I am your host, Will, and this is once again our weekly segment of Our Take. And introducing my co-host for the second is the host of the IF Football Podcast and the host of the College Blitz with Russ Morgan on the FTSN Network. How's it going, brother?
All is good, brother. What's going on with you, man?
Nothing much, man. I saw the other day you were at the 49ers Falcons game, right?
Yeah, so got to go out there this past weekend, man. Hell of a weekend, man. It was the tickets were amazing. Great seats, dude. I mean, I have to send you some videos, man. I mean, it was impressive.
Awesome. Please do, man.
Great, yeah,
really
man. Great time, great views, and obviously, came out with that dub. So, so it was a good trip to the West Coast, man.
Nice. All right, but we know that on Our Take, we never come empty-handed. We always come with a couple guests, a couple friends, and making his first-time appearance on 305 Sports Now, the host of the Talking Game podcast, Anthony. What's up, Anthony? How's it going?
What's up, man? I'm excited to be here. How are y'all doing?
Good, man. No complaints. Excited to talk about some Canes football. It hurt. The Louisville game did hurt, but we'll talk a little bit about that. But then we'll go on to Stanford because it's we all feel it's a get-right game for the Canes. So we'll see how that goes. But we have one more guest, and keeping it classy with Classy Kane, Mr. Justin Classy. He doesn't believe in rat poison, but he does like to talk about carbon monoxide. We know that for a fact. What's up, Justin? How's it going? What's up, Justin? Everything good? You hear me?
I'm not getting any audio across.
Okay. We can hear you just fine. We hear you just fine. We can hear you though.
Yeah.
Don't you love going live?
I can hear Tony, but I can't hear you other guys.
Oh, really? Okay. Okay. Tony, if you can hear me, tell him to leave the studio and come back. That might work.
All right. So he said leave the studio and come back. It might work.
Okay.
Look at that.
Agent Rainey?
AD
in the house, as usual. All right, from Adrian from the Rainy Day Podcast, all right, joining us as well, as usual. Let's see. All right. Let's see if he comes back here. I got to remove the other version of him. There we go. Justin, can you hear us?
Yeah, I can hear you now.
All right, perfect. All right, yeah, so basically I said you don't believe in rat poison, but you think carbon monoxide is a thing. All right, so that's how I introduced you. Okay, Mr. Justin Classy of Classy Kane. How's it going?
Good. Thank you for having me, guys.
No, not a problem, man. Not a problem. Glad you're all joining the show. Listen, I was at the game Friday night. I am not going to lie. I thought two things were going to happen. Either we would put 40 on Louisville, or if it was a close game, Louisville could get the upset. So let's just say I don't want to be right in the second regard. Is what I was talking about. It was a tough game to watch. It was tough. Let me say the Rock was packing. Don't believe what you see on X. Those people are liars and they're manipulators with their photos. That Rock was packed. I should know, but it took me an hour and a half to get to the game because of how bad traffic was. So just to let you know, so it was a packed house on a Friday evening. Before I give my take on the game, let's start first with Q. What were your thoughts on the game, and what exactly you felt went wrong for Miami?
Oh man, my thoughts. So my first thought was I was on a plane to San Francisco during the game, and I was doing everything I could to not get the plane turned around, and get it emergency landed back in Atlanta. I was not happy. Rough start, obviously, in the first quarter, and as things went along, just not super thrilled, right? The first quarter, they're down 14-0, and obviously having trailed, outside of a brief time, versus Florida State, obviously uncharted territory for Miami. And then, kind of as the game went along, you're really starting to wonder, first and foremost, what the hell Carson Beck is looking at, right? And why they can't get that run game going, and why there's no creativity to it was really my thoughts on the offense, right? Starting with Carson Beck, you had checkdowns, on the majority of those picks, and you kind of wondered, why it is that he kept, throwing it into double coverage and everything when he had those guys running free, underneath. I think he missed, Lofton would have run forever. I think Marty Brown on another one, and so, that was definitely frustrating. It was frustrating for a second straight week to see them not run the ball. That's been a little bit surprising, just based on what we know this running game is capable of. But against Florida State, I think they have like 63 yards rushing, if I'm not mistaken. Obviously against Louisville, not much better. And so, this running, between center and guard or guard and tackle, I think, has to be rectified. I think there's got to be a little bit of creativity injected into the life of this running game. I think in terms of penalties, right? Just again, when you're looking at 4 picks and 9 penalties overall, even, whether we want to say some of those penalties, I think were a little bit questionable in terms of the referees. But we can't use that excuse, right? Just a really, really poorly played game on offense, and I think the defense outside of the first quarter, I think they did their thing, right? Only gave up 10 points from the second quarter on, never gave up a point off a turnover, which is something, that they should be commended for. Again, not a great game necessarily, right? I mean, but when you look at the way that Jeff Brom, put together that game plan and getting the ball out quick, obviously negated the pass rush. And so, again, man, I think overall, the defense was okay, and the offense just, left a lot to be desired in terms of the play calling, the lack of a running game, and obviously Carson Beck's decision making. So, kind of my take on it, and we'll see if they can right the ship, with a better game plan coming up against Stanford, or they better.
Yeah, I completely agree with you. Anthony, what's your take?
My first take was, I've been defending Carson Beck and saying that he's not that bad, and he gave us the game that made Georgia fans hate him. Like, we saw in real time why even at 11-2, UGA was sick of, and you said it. He's trying to make the big play, trying to be the hero. Just check the ball down. Get the easy completions, especially because it started off as a rainy, nasty game. You know what I'm saying? I've also was disappointed because we're Hurricanes fans. When are we going to stop losing these games? Like, when are we going to stop losing these Friday night games to the mid to low? Well, I wouldn't say mid to low level if you're really looking at Louisville at the moment. But what's expected of Louisville, the mid to low level ACC teams, and like be the dominant team that I thought that we were this year. And dominant teams win those games. Now they might not blow them out, but you find a way to win. I feel you about the running game and the creativity, but I don't think we need any creativity. If the linemen and blockers do their job, they've shown that this works. We don't have to be fancy. We can be the smash mouth team and run the ball and make it happen. We just didn't execute. And for the defense, I was highly disappointed in the run game. We let Isaac average 9.1, maybe like 9.1 yards a game, which when you're running the ball like that, the quarterback looks awesome. Moss looks awesome because it's open up. The play action is wide open when you're getting gashed like that. So that was really my biggest take of that, because for Miami, we're thinking playoffs, right? We're thinking next level. Like, this is cool. The regular season is what we have to go through. Tackling was terrible. But once we get to the playoffs and we're playing the big dogs, everybody can run the ball. So if we're not going to be able to stop the run, that becomes a huge problem. But I'm thinking we'll be all right. I don't like the gap of time we had either. I think we had a lot of time to read the newspaper clippings, having that bye week. Yeah. People saying that we might be, and I was one of them. We might maybe we should be the number one team. Maybe this is the best team in college football. I think that kind of got to them a little bit because they came out lackadaisical against Louisville.
Yeah. Before we get to Justin, how funny a week makes. We went from, like what you said, Anthony, maybe we're the number one team in the country. It's like Miami. We all knew it, man. Miami exposed itself. Miami's going to Miami. Mario's going to Mario. All the national guys. Actually, it's funny, though, because the local guys were a bit more objective. Like, well, we like you said, maybe it was more outside runs wouldn't kill us a little bit. Bruce Warner on Locked On Canes said it quite a bit as well. But all the national guys like, man, the Canes are great. So. But then we lose to Louisville, who, by the way, is known for slaying some top 5 giants. They did it to Clemson as well a couple years ago. No, man, Miami just got exposed. They just got exposed. All right, Classy. What's your take?
So going into the game, I did not think the Canes were going to lose. I am all bought in on the team. I believe in the roster that's constructed, but I do believe that they did not prepare properly. They thought that they could just play smash mouth football. Louisville had time to create a game plan. They executed that game plan. They started off with all types of confusions. Brom is a madman. He's diabolical. He created plays that couldn't even think to prepare for. A Wildcat with 3 quarterbacks. UM's defense was all off balance. After that, it was done. 14 points. It was just now a game of catch up. They didn't believe that UM's offense could catch up down that much, and it turned out that way. I don't see how we didn't expect a fake field goal when that whole drive was filled with trickery. So we didn't prepare. We thought that we could just do the same old things. So, Tony, I do have to disagree with you, what you were saying, like you don't think much has to be changed, but in a boxing match, you can't go in where your opponent has adjusted to your strengths, your weaknesses, and then you just go in thinking that I could do whatever I want to do. And Louisville punched them in the mouth. They couldn't recover, and that's why they lost. And I think going forward, what they need to do is make sure that they are adjusting to what teams are watching on film. We're now going into week 9. We cannot just think that we're going to line up. We saw starting with Florida that teams are now starting to stack the box. We saw with Florida State, teams are starting to stack the box. So Louisville, rightfully so, stack the box. It's been effective. It's slowing us down. We have to make a change. We have to give them a different look. Because we didn't give them a different look, we had a long game. That's period.
Yeah. No, I completely agree with you. Again, listen, regarding Shannon Dawson, I really don't know what's going on. Shannon Dawson's not known for being conservative, and his background and the air raid offenses are not, they're not conservative at all. When he was at Houston, they scored a lot of points and their quarterback had 40 touchdowns. Before the previous quarterback, before Cam Ward, before he was figured out that he couldn't cover, you play zone on him the whole night. Miami's offense was like at one point like a top 10 offense. Before that, in the A&M game, they scored 55 points. And let's face it, last year Cam Ward was Cam Ward. So the offense was very open under Ward. Altogether, we scored at will, and I just can't understand and fathom how we've gone from that to just being so basic on offense when you have a quarterback that at one point was a Heisman Trophy favorite coming into that last season, which is Carson Beck. My take on Beck as well, I just think that when we went down 14-0 and we scored so quickly, it was a blessing in disguise. It was a blessing because we scored so fast. We proved we could push the ball down the field and score. But I also think that Beck reverted back to what he was back in Georgia when he was down. He felt like he had to be Superman. And like you said, he didn't take the check down. You had plays where Marty Brown was open, Elijah Lofton was open, Mark Fletcher was open several times where you could have gotten at least some 5 or 6 yards, 8 yards, and gave yourself an opportunity to use the running game to get a second and short, third and short. And he didn't do that. He kept pushing the ball downfield. Those jump balls weren't necessary, okay, where he got picked. The pass to Malachi Toney, that post route was not necessary because you had guys open it underneath. And that's where I think led to, Beck's demise throughout this game. If he was just play the game that he's been playing the entire season, which is taking the right throw and at the right time, Miami probably wins this football game. Because if you look at the numbers, statistically speaking, Miami was not that far behind Louisville, despite the 4 turnovers, not even time of possession. So I think that if he would have played just a regular game, Miami wins that game. Maybe not handily because Louisville came to play, but they do win that football game. And going back, give me a second, Q. I know you want to jump in.
Yeah.
I know you want to jump in, but I also think that we need, not tweak it so much because you don't want to overhaul the system, but you have to have some more adjustments to your playbook, like open up your offense a little bit more in the passing game, not be so bunched up all the time like we saw with those trip sets, and tight formations. And I think some outside runs interjected would be good for the team. And I think bringing Jordan Lau at the right time is also a factor that needs to be done, not just throw him in there after not been playing for such a long period of time. Go ahead, Q.
Yeah, and obviously, man, you guys make a lot of good points. Going back to what Classy and Tony were talking about, in turn, I definitely think, again, when we're looking at the running game and what's happened 2 straight weeks, that's kind of my reasoning for saying, hey, listen, man, we need something has to change, right? I'm not saying scrap the playbook, right? Because Tony, I'm with you. Like when we line up hat on a hat, more often than not, we're going to win. But now for 2 straight weeks, we haven't won. And when you're looking at what it is going on, it becomes a numbers game, all right? Because they're going, okay, listen, we're going to take 8 and see if your 5 can block our 8, or at times your 6 can block our 8. And what's happening? They're winning, right? And so something has to give in terms of the looks that you get that Miami's giving these teams. And giving them something to think about, right? Because again, it becomes a numbers game. 1, 2, in terms of Carson Beck, when you're looking at just the pure numbers, he went 25 of 35, and those of the 10 incompletions, 4 of them were picks, right? So when he didn't throw a pick, right? And I guess I don't know, at the risk of sounding like Mr. Obvious, like he made a good throw. He was making the right decision, but it was like these picks. You're going, what are you? Or you don't have to force the ball. There's no reason to force it. Shannon Dawson, again, for all the Shannon Dawson bashing that I've heard at the beginning of this week, when you're looking at the replays, you're going, listen, you look left, there's an outlet. You look right, there's an outlet. Like that's on Beck. And he didn't have to throw those passes. He didn't have to throw those passes, right? And then you're looking at the receiving numbers, and we're talking about, oh my God, for everything Louisville did listen, Louisville had 23 receptions for 248 yards. Miami, 25 receptions for 271 yards. Right? I mean, so it's when you're looking at it again, it was not this huge discrepancy in terms of, what Miami didn't do, and what Louisville didn't do is turn the ball over. Right? But if we're looking at this thing, and I like to think I'm a glass half full, kind of guy, even though throughout the years I've definitely been glass half empty, depending on who's been the coach, who's been the quarterback. But when we're looking at this thing, 4 picks, right? 9 penalties, 70 yards or something like that, worth of penalty yardage. We lose this game by 3 points with a chance to tie this thing at the end of the game, right? So, again, man, I get the doomsday scenarios, and I get everybody freaking out for what the past has been and the whole deal. But if we look at this thing logically, I don't think there's that much really to be discouraged about or to be disappointed about. Did we want to win the game? Yes. Did they deserve to win the game? Probably not, based on the way they played, right? But when you're looking at it, listen, it took Jeff Brom 2 weeks to put these plays in, right? Like Classy was saying, they interviewed, and I can't remember which one of the Canes DBs it was like, they did things that we never saw on tape. And that's what you get from a guy like Jeff Brom. You gave a guy 2 weeks to prepare, and what did he do? He was getting the ball out quick. He's like, hey, you want to know how we're going to neutralize, your pass rush? They knew they couldn't line up. And that's the difference when you're looking at the difference in head coach to head coach, right? They knew that they couldn't line up hat on a hat and win this game. So what did they do? They didn't. And they installed some wrinkles to fool Miami, right? They let the ball go really quick. They're cut blocking, right? In order to get the guys to put their hand on the ground and everything like that. Getting the ball out to NFL talent, man. When you're looking at these guys that they got, Chris Bell's going to play in the NFL.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
You're looking at a guy like Colin Lacey's going to play in the NFL. Isaac Brown is going to play in the NFL. Right? So when you're looking at getting these guys in space, which is what they were doing, right? Listen, that was the game plan, right? And I've heard a lot of people saying, oh, what if other teams, well, not every other team is going to have this type of talent on the outside and at the skill positions, right? So again, man, it was almost a perfect storm in terms of the bye week for Louisville falling at the same time as Miami's, and the guy just being a master, offensive mind. Listen, man, hats off to him. But let's not pretend like Miami, even in their shortcomings on offense, even though they were fooled on defense at times, even though they didn't tackle great and everything like that, they were literally about to tie this game. Right? So again, a little perspective, right? I get it. I know everybody's got PTSD from the last couple decades and everything, but I think if we woo-saw a little bit and kind of take an objective look, an objective approach to what it is that happened and what we have in front of us, I think everything is fine. I think, again, there is a realistic scenario where they run the table, right? And you're looking at 11-1, and I think everything is fine. If that's how it goes, then they're fine.
Okay. Anthony, you want to push back on what Q said and Classy the same? Starting first with Anthony.
I really was going to kind of echo what Q said. Like, tweaks are made anyway, right? Throughout the season. You're going to always tweak and make small changes because, I mean, I would hope so. Like the playbook is more organic, throughout the season. But I'm more so feeling like you. If Carson Beck maybe throws 2 interceptions, the Hurricanes win. And it's probably a lot less talk about what they did wrong.
Exactly.
Because if Carson Beck hits some of these open receivers, that probably opens up stuff, and you're probably running the ball more because you're playing with the lead.
Exactly.
You know what I'm saying? So, but I mean, I feel, of course, tweak some stuff here and there, but all of this has worked, right? We weren't promised a perfect season. You know what I'm saying? I think that's the thing in football now, especially college football. You want a perfect season and you want to blow teams out, right? And that's cool. But hey, man, let's survive. Let's make the playoffs. Once you get in the tournament, let's get to work. You know what I'm saying? I think it'll work out. I think some of it is that PTSD though, because I'm not gonna lie. Friday, I was like, bruh, we about to be that team again.
Here we go.
We're about to be that. That team, and I'm gonna look up, and it's gonna be December. Why are we 8-4? What is going on?
And this is where they need to. And to echo that real quick. Sorry, Will, just real quick. This is where the change has to happen in terms of what the previous years have been as soon as November 1st hits, because we know what happens to this team and this staff in November and December.
Yeah.
So they've really got to keep the train on the tracks. We really got to keep this thing from becoming a streak, right? We have to let one bad game remain a bad game and not turn it into, something else, right?
Sure.
Because again, we know Mario's records in November, December. So this is kind of where, the back to square one has to happen, and make sure that during this prep week, everything is getting worked out and making sure everybody's in the right frame of mind and everything. And again, not let this one game turn into, a streak.
Yeah. Let's just give a little nuance, because I heard the national guys say that on CBS Sports regarding November. I'll get to you in a minute, Classy. Let's put some nuance into it. Mario's second season, the reason why November was so rough because you had incompetent quarterback play from your starting quarterback. And last season, you had a defense that could have stopped a nosebleed. But if the defense would have been half as good as the defense is this year, Miami runs the table against everybody. If you look at against Georgia Tech, Cam Ward had a pretty good game. He had over 300 yards passing and 3 touchdown passes. Yeah. And the Syracuse game, Miami was up 21-0 in that game. So let's put some nuance into it as well. As far as it's Miami's in November. I understand that because the record is you are where your record is, but it also put nuance into that Miami wasn't exactly playing complimentary football in both those seasons. Justin, you want to take it away?
Yeah. So I actually, though I'm not this type of fan who is the doom and gloom fan, I do want to give them a voice in this particular moment because I don't think they're 100% wrong. Tony, I'm not coming for you. I promise I'm not coming for you. But I want to advance this a little more because we're now at Tuesday. So the sting of the loss has kind of passed and everyone has settled in like, hey, Louisville had a great game plan. Cool. But you mentioned that they're making changes. I would then again disagree with that as well because they had 2 bye weeks. We saw the penalties start to creep up against USF. There has been 0 changes. We have been falling for the same stem that defenses have been doing. And since then, we saw Florida do it, we saw Florida State do it, and then we saw Louisville do it. Changes aren't being made. So how can we be confident? For those fans who are actually Hurricanes fans, we're all the same. Those who are doom and gloom, how can you tell them and convince them that changes are being made when they didn't do anything differently? When we saw against Florida State effectively stopped our run. And we want to give praise to the fact that we won by 3 points. We almost gave away that Florida State game as well. So let's be fair on both sides. If we're going to say, hey, we almost came back, but we almost blew some games by doing some wrinkles or not having some wrinkles in our gameplay. The PTSD, it's real. But can we even say it's PTSD? Mario has never had an undefeated season. Mario has never had a one-loss season. And that's going back to his Oregon days. That's going back to his FIU days. So these people, although they are extreme, we can't lie, our fans get extreme, they're not necessarily wrong. We're running into the same gap. That is ridiculous that we have the type of talent that we do. We have an NFL line. Those players are going to go on and do great things. You mean to tell me they can't zone block? You mean to tell me you can't have Markel Bell pull out and have him one-on-one with a nickel back and just run somebody over while Mark Fletcher has a one-on-one with another cornerback, or Jordan Loud has another one-on-one, and we have our numbers, but we can only run up the A gap? I can't buy that, and I can't say that for the fans who actually are saying something correct, something that needs to be heard. So when Mario talks about the rat poison, I was introduced as far as the carbon monoxide. The issue is they're believing their own hype. They're like, hey, this has worked over and over, when in reality, we have been slowly watching it not work. We've been slowly watching defenses stop our run. This is our bread and butter. So if we don't have an effective offensive line or defensive line, what are we going to do?
I don't know. I mean, if we have such a NFL line, we should be able to maul these college lines. And just for sake of talking, I said I think tweets should be happening because it should be organic. But anyway, I think we'll be all right. Like I say, if Carson Beck throws 2 interceptions instead of 4, if we win, a lot of this calms down and subsides. I truly do. I think we'll be all right. I think the doom and gloom is fine. We can listen to them. Maybe we do need to listen to them to make sure that we understand the severity of the season and what it can turn into. But we can't go into the rabbit hole of the doom and gloom, because guess what? You're going to look up and you're going to be 8-4 trying to figure out, why are we here?
Okay.
Yeah. And look,
okay, Q.
Oh, sorry, man. No, and listen, man, real quick, like, I hear you on the pro O-line, and I wouldn't push back on that. The thing is that the pro O-line isn't performing in a vacuum, right? Like, you're performing against coaches who know what they're doing and against talented defensive lines, right? I mean, if you're playing Florida State, Daryl Jackson's going to play in the NFL, right? You're playing, Louisville, Cleb Lubin, right, is going to play in the NFL, right? I mean, so you've got ability that you're going against, right? This isn't Bethune-Cookman, and whatever. Like, you have to switch up the look every once in a while. Like, I get what your bread and butter is, but it can't just be like, oh, you know what, we're gonna run behind Markel Bell, all game. Or we're gonna run, we're gonna have Francis, and the right guard, man,
Cooper.
And Big Coop the entire game, because they're going to play in the NFL. No, you're running against guys who are going to play in the NFL also, right? And so, I think we're underestimating a little bit the talent that we're going against, and just saying, well, we just keep doing the same thing and nobody's going to adjust, because that's what these defensive coordinators get paid to do, and that's what these D linemen literally get paid to do. So, like, I'm with you in terms of we're definitely, more often than not, we're going to play, in terms of the O-line versus who's ever D-line, more often than not, we're going to have the advantage. But we can't discount the fact that D-lines are going to be talented, and defensive coordinators are going to adjust to what they're doing. And really and truly, there's not a lot to adjust to, because it's not super creative. Like, there's not a bunch to adjust to. Like we talked about, they're not fooling anybody. They're running A gap or B gap every single play, right? So if they're running that, just like Florida State did, right? And that was the difference with Carson Beck against Florida State, right? They put 8 in the box, and Miami was beating them deep. What happened the other game is that, obviously, he was throwing some picks and everything like that. But, again, if that happens, now Shannon Dawson has to be like, okay, we're either going to switch up the look or we're going to throw on this defense. If they're putting 8 in the box, Miami has to make them pay intermediate and deep. That's the way it has to go. And Carson Beck has to make those passes.
we keep falling back on that. It got to be complimentary. We keep saying that the
100%.
defense, the running game isn't working, but we also keep falling back and bottom line saying Carson Beck didn't do his job to help open it up. Just on the flip side, how I said with Louisville, it opened up because they're averaging 10 yards a pop. It has to go hand in hand. I think what we do can work if Carson Beck works. They both worked hand in hand. That's why one hand washed the other, both washed the face. If one ain't working, the other's not. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, gentlemen, I love the back and forth. I think it's been great. We're going to take a quick break to hear from our sponsor, Fan Outfitters, and we're going to jump straight to Stanford, who is the next upcoming opponent. Is it a get-right game, or could it be another trap? So, ladies and gentlemen, let's hear from our sponsor, Fan Outfitters. Ooh, Miami. I am proud to announce that Fan Outfitters is the official sponsor of 305 Sports Now. With locations in Pembroke Pines, Davie, and Kendall, you can find the latest gear and accessories for all your favorite South Florida teams. Teams like your Miami Hurricanes, your Stanley Cup champion Florida Panthers, Miami Dolphins, Miami Heat, Inter Miami, Miami Marlins, and many, many more. So if you ever find yourself in the Pembroke Pines area, Davie, or Kendall, please stop by Fan Outfitters, the official sponsor of 305 Sports Now. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, that is Fan Outfitters, the official sponsor of 305 Sports Now. If you're ever in the Pembroke Pines, Davie, or Kendall area, please pass by Fan Outfitters, the official sponsor of 305 Sports Now. Get your Canes gear, Dolphins. Yes, we still love our Dolphins. Dolphins, Marlins, Panthers, Inter Miami, heck, FIU. Okay, get your gear over at Fan Outfitters, the official sponsor of 305 Sports Now. We won't talk about the Dolphins. We'll stay strictly in Canes, okay? We'll stay strictly with Canes. All right, ladies. All right, gentlemen. I love the back and forth. I love the different perspectives that we all had about the team, and I love the fact that we're still Canes fans all together despite our varying opinions. But this Saturday, they're at 7 p.m. at the Rock. We're expecting another full house as Stanford comes into town. Stanford shocked the ACC by defeating Florida State, and Stanford had some injuries on their team, and the Knowles go down, and they knocked Tommy Castellanos out of the game as well. Let's first start with the round table. Start this time with Justin. What do you think about the Stanford FSU game?
I think it was fantastic. I think FSU deserves all the losses that they possibly can get. Even if it is to Stanford, I think that FSU is the same exact team from last year, just with Gus Malzahn doing magic tricks. Cafe Bustelo being their quarterback. He's going to run around for a little bit, but after a while, it's going to settle down, and that team is going to be exactly who they were last year. So just watching the game, seeing how Stanford played, a lot of 12, 13 personnel, and they just ran over Florida State. They had no answer for that. Florida State runs a 3-3-5 defense. We saw what happened when D'Onofrio wanted to run a 3-4 down here in Miami. That does not work with Florida talent. And it is just the most rewarding thing to watch them go through what we have gone through when we had D'Onofrio. So kudos to them for having another poor season.
Okay. Tony, what's your take, sir?
It is never a bad day when Florida State loses. It made the loss a little bit better, just to see them lose. I might replay that tonight just to give myself some joy. I agree with Justin, though. This is literally the same team, just with a little bit better quarterback play. And like you said, Gus Malzahn, who he's going to be creative. He's going to make things happen. But I call certain people great value. He's great value, Johnny Manziel. You know what I'm saying? He's only going to take you so far. I like that Stanford has a little bit of confidence coming into Miami. Hopefully we can pop that bubble. You know what I'm saying? They could be riding a little high since they beat Florida State. Teams don't have their eye on the mark after a victory sometimes. The Hurricane showed that Friday. So I'm excited for the game just coming up, though. But I'm always happy when Florida State lose. I hope they lose throughout, honestly.
All right, Q, what's your take?
look, man, anybody who knows me knows how I feel about Florida State. This is a family show, so I'm gonna keep it. I'm gonna keep it PG. But again, if you know me for a long time, like you have, Will, you know how I feel about them. I'm not about this. The rivalry's better when they're nah. If they didn't win another game and Doak Campbell Stadium fell in on itself tonight, I'd crack a beer and laugh about it. You know what I mean? Like I'm just not. There's no love lost for me when it comes to to that team. I love that they went to California, flew all the way out there on Stanford's homecoming night. They scheduled Florida State for homecoming and then beat them. Right. So, I mean, if that's not amazing, if that doesn't put a smile on your face, even listen, I get it. I know what happened with Miami, but again, having Florida State lose at Stanford, takes a sting away, just a small amount. Right. Not doesn't completely, take it away, but it definitely makes it a little bit, easier to stomach, especially when there was a lot of trash talking, by those clowns on Twitter right after Miami lost that game. So, definitely, well, it was a little, I guess, a little scary to see the way Castellanos got hit. When he went down, it was definitely a cheap shot for sure. But again, outside of that, I'm definitely glad they lost that game. And now, coming up this week, just kind of piggybacking off what Tony said, I think it's a good thing that Stanford won that game. I think definitely, I don't know that Miami would have the same focus even after their loss. I don't know that they'd have the same focus if Stanford hadn't won that game. So I think they definitely have Stanford definitely has Miami's full attention. I think they're going to prepare that way. And, I expect, Miami to fully, put on a great display and get right on Saturday versus Stanford.
Yeah, if you look at the numbers and so on, Florida State's numbers weren't bad. They just didn't finish. And that was Florida State's biggest issue because they had a total of 444 yards to Stanford's 293. But Stanford just made the right plays at the right time and made the right defensive plays right at the right time as well. So they pretty much handed Florida State, the game. I think Florida State probably came in there thinking they were going to get a get-right game and beat Stanford. And Stanford, who had injuries on the team and lost their starting quarterback, and a freshman took over as well. They were unable to finish the job. So my take is right now it's like 1-0. You got to have that 1-0 mindset, and you can't take this team lightly. Every single game right now is important for Miami, and I think what they need to do is punish Stanford for what they should have done to Louisville. Justin, what's your take on Stanford?
I think it's the Bethune-Cookman of the ACC. I don't think Stanford is a good team. They're terrible. I'm not gonna sugarcoat it because we're coming off of a loss. This would have been my take if we came in off of a win. Stanford is not a good football team. They are disorganized. You have Andrew Luck as the GM, but he's calling plays. They're a hot mess over there. And their quarterback got injured. The injury does not look like he's going to be there. I think the backup Elijah Brown is going to be in the game. I fully expect us to dominate this team. I don't think that it's going to be close. Win or lose, even a bad coaching game, we would absolutely dominate them. It would be the end of the world if the Miami Hurricanes found a way to have a close game with Stanford or found a way to lose. This team is horrendous.
Tony, what do you think? Are you nicer to Stanford, or are you going to be? Are you on the classy train?
First of all, classy. UNC is the Bethune-Cookman of the ACC. Okay, like we're not about to do Stanford like that. All right, they got a lot going on, but at least they beat a Division I school. Okay, like we gonna put some respect, a little respect on Stanford. All right, Carolina is the Bethune of the ACC, and that's crazy that Bill Belichick is involved in that. But I agree though. Like if Miami wants to, it's not a championship game. It's Stanford. It's you're not winning the ACC in the end of October. But if Miami wants to dispel the doomsday fans, the people who are thinking, oh my God, here we go again. We got a BTA Saturday. We need a 42-7 Like, we need to embarrass these guys in the Hard Rock for reasons. First of all, they're traveling cross country. They have to deal with this, it's still Miami, have to deal with climate. And we're just the better team. We have to dominate. Whatever the spread is, I don't know. I'm not a gambler. But whatever the spread is, we got to cover.
30.5.
We got to cover. We got to cover. I feel like we can. And honestly, if the Hurricanes care about the loss the way that they said in the media, the focus and the way that they're going to play will show. And we're going to see. Like, because I'm with you, Justin. It shouldn't be close. It shouldn't be at all.
Sorry, Q, what's your take?
There's a lot of numbers obviously that favor Miami. First and foremost, the number of blue chip, players, when compared to Stanford. 1, 2, when you look at, what they've done on the road, they're 0-4, right? When you look at the turnover margin, right, they're -4 for 109th in the country. When you're looking at, the terrible red zone defense they have, and Miami's red zone offense 95.7, which is 12th in the FBS. You're looking at the motivation factor. Man, just a lot of, right, just like both of you guys were mentioning, man, the injuries. Obviously should play a major role in this game on Saturday. So, man, for a lot of reasons, right? I think this has to be a get right game, for Miami. Again, spread is 30.5. I would love to see them cover that. I really want to get to the point, man, where we're really, beating down the teams that we need to beat down, right? Because, this playing a close deal and this, let's not, listen, man, just go full throttle, man. Need to go. Let's put the foot on the gas and don't take it off. And, the other thing, in terms of from a player perspective that I'd really, really like to see, and I heard a couple people talking about this earlier, is I'd really, really like to see the team get up early. And I'd like to see some of these young guys start getting in on defense, especially at the defensive end, man. With Ruben Bain and Akeem Mesidor are playing way too many snaps. And I think this is a game where they need to get up early. And I think sometime early on in the second half, they need to think of giving Ruben Bain and Akeem Mesidor, the majority of the second half off. I'd really, really like to see guys like Booker Pickett, Marquise Lightfoot, Herbert Scroggins, and all these guys who are highly touted in the whole deal. And again, this kind of goes back to, and Will knows this. I get what Jason Taylor is. I understand. Listen, he's the people tout him and they laud him and he's this, he's that, and the third. I am still of the thought that he is a great recruiter and he's just an okay coach at this point. And I know that may sound blasphemous, but I really, really want to see him start. Listen, Ruben Bain, it's not that he hasn't been coach, but Ruben Bain was a stud from day one. Last year, he didn't perform because he was injured, right? Mesidor is back to playing his original, position. He's lost some weight. He's back to playing exclusively defensive end for the most part, right? But also, let's not forget, Mesidor is like a 6th-year guy, right? So, again, he's got ability, and he's an old guy. I'm not shocked by the way he's playing. But I really, really want to see these young guys start to get some burn and start to see them affect games. I think Marquise Lightfoot has ability. Again, the names that I mentioned, I'd really, really like to see them get in there. Guys like Justin Scott, start doing a little bit more. This D-line really start to show some of the talent and the depth that it has. Because as this season goes along, all right, we've been lucky that the injury bug hasn't hit, but we need to start letting some guys on that D-line get some more runs just in case, the end of the season comes around and we have to depend on them. So that's the kind of game I want. I want to beat down and see some of the young guys play on the D-line and at receiver.
Yeah, just to piggyback on what Justin was saying, I got the numbers right here for pretty much comparing the two teams. Hold on, let me actually be able to move it a little bit more if I just go to the screen. So, we all know the records. 5-1, 3-4. I believe Stanford's 2-2 in the ACC, but the numbers on total offense are just horrific for Stanford. 115th in the country. Passing game is at 7. It's basically at 69. The running game is averaging 97 yards per game, pretty much 130th in the nation. Scoring offense is at pretty much 19 points per game. That's horrific, as well. Total defense, 119th in the country. Scoring defense, 27.7 points per game as well. Turnover margin, they're actually at -4. So they really don't have a red zone offense or third down defense. So it's pretty rough for Stanford. So yeah, I agree with you guys. I do think that Miami should dominate this football game. I think it's our game to lose, and I do think they should be able to crush Stanford altogether. Louisville. Listen, Louisville's beaten some good teams. Louisville has NFL talent, on their squad. I mean, Bell is a first-round pick. Lacey's going to play in the NFL as well. The linebacker crew for Louisville is going to be in the NFL. They proved me wrong. I thought that the 8th ranked secondary in the country was an inflated stat on behalf of Louisville. I was proven wrong. They actually play better pass coverage than Florida State did, who I think on paper has better recruits, as well. So I think that the bottom line is that we should crush this team. All right, we should put 40-50 on them and move on to the next team. And I think that's the way Miami needs to do. The old Canes teams, when they were upset, by somebody, they took it out on the following opponent. Didn't matter who it was. I remember the days when they lost to BYU 28-21, and then the following week they won 46-10. Okay, so they took it out on the next team. This is what that team has to do. But I still think that we need to tweak our offense and jam the receivers a little bit on defense. That's all I really have to say. Anybody want to chime in on that one?
It's funny that you say that though, Q, about the backups and reserves, just because they do need playing time. I want them to be in because we're up so much. Like, I mean, I'm cool with the playing time, all that, but no, like, I need that. I need the Ed Reed speech. They need to be playing that during practice when they was at Florida State. Don't ask me if I'm okay. All right, dog. You know what I'm saying? And mind you, they was winning at that time. You feel me? So we need that. But I agree. Yeah. I do feel like the opposing receivers are just getting off way too clean. It's no disruption. It's nothing messing with their timing. It's almost like rely on your skill set outside, not your physicality with our defensive back. So I definitely feel that.
Yeah, Bell, going back to Louisville just a split second, Bell had too many free releases, especially on drags. I mean, if you just bump him a little bit, you probably give Miller Moss something to think about. He had too many free releases. And that's something I complain about the Notre Dame game as well. One of the reasons why Notre Dame caught up and tied the game is because we gave the receivers too much cushion. And even against Florida State, that Deuce Robinson pass where they were backed up basically near their end zone, it was 3rd and 10. And for whatever reason, Lucas was off by 10 yards and they gave him the first down. So I do think, as much as I love Heatherman, our defense is much more improved than last year. I mean, again, Louisville averages 38 points a game. We held them to 24, and they had to work for those 24 after the first quarter. But I would like to see us kind of like get in the face of the receivers just a little bit more. Justin, you want to add?
Yeah, I'm going to be the voice of the doom and gloom, though I'm not them. I trust Heatherman as a skilled defensive coordinator. So if he is allowing his corners to play that far off, the question is why? What has he seen to make his defenders play that far off? And I don't know if we want to find out. There may be a reason exactly why they're having to play 10 yards off, especially when we know against Louisville, they were getting the ball off in 2.5 seconds. It was nothing but drags and crossing routes, and they did not adjust to it at all. So I don't know if they did not want to show on film that this secondary can get beat deep, so let's just keep everything in front of us. I don't know if they just simply wanted to go with the bend, don't break offense, but there could be something to hide there, and it's going to be on us to have to prove it. I want to be proven wrong that, hey, our defenders can be physical. We know that O'Connor from Michigan State, he can get physical. He can get in someone's face. I don't know about the other defenders, so we have to see.
Q, your take?
That's an angle that I had not thought about, to be totally honest with you. The room obviously has been made over, and when you're looking at it not only being made over in terms of talent, but you're also looking at the body types that are there, and the way they brought how they address the cornerback room, I should say, right? With the different body types, with the guys that are able to play, right? If smaller receivers, bigger receivers, if you've got Lucas on the field, right? Your smaller, your smaller slot receivers, right, with Keontae Scott and what's the kid we brought in from Michigan State, Brantley,
Brantley,
right, so on and so forth, right, and so. Man, I'm right there with you. I'm not sure exactly what the hesitance is with these corners. I'm not sure why, with the way those Louisville receivers are moving, man, I don't know why maybe not switch up the looks a little bit and maybe just go more zone, and defend them that way. But listen, man, at the end of the day, yeah, you're right, man. I think that there's a reason why they're playing them that way. I'm not sure what the reasoning is, but definitely something I'd like to see changed. And see if we can cut down on some of these big plays. And again, we keep going back to it. Not every team is going to have the personnel that Louisville had, right? I think we know that, and I think we're probably thankful for that, honestly. But again, I think switching up that look on defense and going from man to zone and kind of giving that quarterback something to think about when he's just when he's cooking. I think probably wouldn't be a bad idea on Heatherman's part. So
yeah. Before we're going to score predictions for Stanford, I agree with you, Q. I think you could rush 4 with this group, and I think you could have played a little bit more zone or zone man, where you're still kind of a man coverage, but you're passing the guy off instead of with at least a bump or running him off the routes. Like, listen, one of the best ways to beat Tyreek Hill is to jam him. Kansas City did that in the playoffs quite a bit, and it was effective against the Dolphins in the playoffs because it ran him off his route and made Tua have to think, and look for his progressions. So that's pretty much all I say. But again, I can't argue with the fact that last year was a nightmare. You hope Miami never got on defense at all, and this year, we're pretty. Yeah, I know it's like, we're pretty good at the fact that the defense held it down and gave Miami's offense a chance to win the football game. So that's where I think that we're at. So gentlemen, before we go, and I'll be the last one to say it, I want your score predictions for the Stanford game against Miami. Starting first with Q, and then we'll end with Classy, and then I'll give mine.
All right.
Oh man, you caught me there. I was hoping you were to come last to me. Score prediction, man. Let's go. Let's go 53-13 Miami.
Ooh, wow, 5 spot. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. All right. Talking Tony.
Big, man. Going big. We got to hurt these fools on Saturday.
I agree. Like if we are, I'm not gonna say back. I hate saying that, but if we're the legit contenders that we are, that I hope that we are, I think that we are. 56-10.
Okay.
We see the backups.
All right. Justin?
Yeah. So I don't necessarily do predictions.
Okay.
I do expectations. I expect this team to at least put 50 points on them. I don't expect Stanford to get more than 1 touchdown and maybe a field goal. So that might equal out to 10, but I don't expect them to do more than that because this is not a good team. The only way that they can rattle the Miami Hurricanes is if they tell the players that they're going to hack into their Instagram or their Facebook or their X or whatever else and let their girlfriends know what's in their DMs. That is the only way that I see that they're going to shake these players because they absolutely cannot be on the field with the Miami Hurricanes.
Yeah, I totally agree with you. I'm a little less. I'm going 45-10. I just think Mario's going to run the clock out. That's why I think that I think we'll get to 50 because we're going to run the ball like a million times in the second half. So I think it'll be like 45-10 unless we get some turnovers and we'll get to 50 because it'll be a shorter field. But I project 45-10 this coming Saturday. I hope it's more. I hope you guys are all right. I hope we put a 5 spot on them. But I predict between 45-10. I can't see Stanford coming all the way from the West Coast over to Miami on an evening night where Miami's very upset that they lost last week and giving us a game. I just don't see it. I think Beck's gonna have a comeback game. I think we're gonna see Malachi Tony roast them as well. And I do predict we will have a little bit more of outside runs this upcoming Saturday than we've seen probably the entire year. That's just me. Okay, gentlemen. That wraps it up. Thank you so much for coming on today. I greatly appreciate you taking your time to talk a little Canes football. It's always fun chatting up with podcasters and fellow Canes fans as well. So let us know where we can find you. Starting first with Mr. Justin Classy, the Classy Cane.
So I am on Instagram, TikTok, YouTube at Classy_Cane. New to everything. Decided at the beginning of the season I'm going to create social media, talk about the Miami Hurricanes 2 months ago, and it took off pretty well. So at Classy_Cane, Canes, I'm going to be talking about what I see from the Canes. I'm going to have my skits. It's a whole production over there. If you already know what I do with my social media, check it out. I'm definitely trying to offer a lot different than what some other mainstream podcasts or outlets would offer, where it's just the rat poison and softball stuff. We're going to get in it. We're going to talk about the Canes, the good, the bad, the ugly.
Very good, sir. Talking Tony.
Hey man, yeah. Talking Game on TikTok, Talking Game 1 on Instagram. I always say because Instagram haters. You can look up Talking Game on YouTube as well. Twitter is Talking Game, but I'm not really on Twitter like that. I got to get my Twitter game up. I'm not gonna hold you. I got to get my Twitter game up. But yeah, weekly episodes. We talked about it. I cover a little bit of everything. I got NBA just started tonight, so I'm gonna be a lot of NBA talk, NFL talk, baseball going into the off season. We're gonna talk about contracts and stuff like that. So constantly stuff. Gonna be like 3 or 4 episodes this week, so it's always something going on. Just make sure y'all tune in, man. It's gonna be entertaining.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Q, anything new on the IA Football Pod or the College Blitz?
Yeah, brother. So find me on Hate Football Pod on Twitter. I Hate Football Podcast on YouTube and Instagram. Also find me with my boy Russ on the College Blitz Podcast on YouTube, man. Doing every week we come on, usually Tuesday, Wednesday, one of those. Yeah, man. Find me on all those right there, man. Follow back. Appreciate it.
All right. Thank you guys for joining us again, ladies and gentlemen. Please do not forget to like and subscribe to all these channels, to Justin Classy, aka the Classy Kane, to Talking Game with Tony, and of course the I Hate Football Podcast and the FTSN Extra, the College Blitz with him and Russ Morgan. Very, very, very good shows. Very, very good conversation. And again, it's all about the Canes. And in Justin's case, it's all about, in Tony's case, a little bit about everything, right, as well. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for joining us. If you like what you heard, please do not forget to like, share, and subscribe to 305 Sports Now. Once again, I am Will. Stay safe. God bless. See you soon. All about the Canes. And please, let's knock out Stanford this upcoming evening. Have a good one, guys. Bye-bye.
All right.